So, I was wrong about the Island Boys. If you've been following me for a while, you'll be aware that I made this video. This video is basically me diving into some of the Island Boys revenue streams and kind of breaking down how much realistically they could be earning a year. I felt like at this time that people just sort of hated on the Island Boys for like a trend, and that the internet was just sort of throwing around that they're broke for no real reason. And there were a lot of videos stating this, and I mean a lot. At the time, I just sort of felt like people was doing this without actually doing any research, so I did some for myself. Basically, I ended up coming out with some crazy numbers, adding up their YouTube streams, the cameos, and the musics all together, and made sort of like a rough estimate. And I was wrong. At the time, sort of all this kind of made sense to me, but watching them closely recently, I'm not too sure. Since that video and just sort of before then, I noticed that they was doing like a lot of promotional stuff, and not like normal promotional stuff that makes sense. This stuff just didn't really make sense. They started posting some like literally random ass stuff, things like weed shops, crappy clothing lines, just some like awful stuff. They basically became that Instagram shop that like no one ever touches, and it became a bit of like a spam account. If we just go to their Instagram now, let's see what their last thing they posted was. I mean, the first thing is literally this random ass ad again. I mean, just look at this.
Hey everyone, shout out to elevated_.co, man. He's got the best gas right now.
Like what is that about? I mean, this account's private for a start, and they're saying that they're not selling nothing, so I don't know what the whole point in that is either. And this makes me wonder how much are people paying for that stuff, but more importantly, why are they having to do that? Like, people only really go to this sort of stuff if there's not much else going on, especially if you are literally posting this on the front page. Like, if someone is doing really well, let's say like, imagine if Kanye West was just promoting these random weed shops.
Hey everyone, shout out to Elevated.
Which, to be honest, with his Instagram, I could probably imagine him doing. So, I mean, I'm sure they are not broke. They are still posting videos like this, which is amazing, by the way.
3, 2, 1.
7, 8, 5, 7, 11.
So, I definitely don't think they're broke, but I do not think they're probably doing as well as I thought there was in the video. If you saw my last video, you'll be aware on the No Jumper podcast that they actually had one of their old managers, and I quote, he said that the account is running dry.
Is that the only money they're bringing in?
I mean, it's pretty much run dry at this point.
In this interview, he basically says that the peak of their career is gone, and now they still owe him 150k for cameo videos. I will say that in this video, he does come off a bit like a hater. He says a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm not too sure if I actually believe it. Additionally, a manager actually disclosing all this stuff is a bit sketchy. That is straight to manager jail. But on the podcast, they do actually make a good point. Like I said, I don't think the Island Boys are literally making anywhere near what they originally thought they would be, but it's probably still a pretty good amount. But if their income stream is literally just cameo, what happens when this dries up? By the looks of it, the music isn't doing too good, although I do actually like some of the songs. At this time, flyysoulja has released a full-length album, of which his streams definitely aren't paying for the house and cars either. So I suppose they just live off shouting random brands out on Instagram. And along the way through all this come up, they've made some huge enemies. One of the closest people to him was a guy called Myhzy. If you are not familiar, he is the 5th Island Boy. For some reason, they thought we needed more than 2 of them. During this time, this was some of the greatest content on Instagram because of how terrible it was.
Yo, this dude is crazy. Yo.
And as for these two, I think they're still friends with him, but this guy's just sort of disappeared. Myhzy was considered the 5th Island Boy, and he was pretty close, and actually ended up living together. Myhzy would do kind of some of the same things of the Island Boys. I always saw him in some Instagram live arguments, which was very amusing. And he was actually there for the fight in Hawaii.
Got beat up. Y'all niggas got beat up.
He was said to be pretty much the only one defending them. During this interview, once again, this is a guy that literally lived with them for quite a while, and he even said that their income was going down a lot. So maybe this is the reason behind the whole content switch. To summarize, are the Island Boys broke? I don't actually think they're broke. At this point, I don't see their money lasting forever. I think this is why they probably popped off on the Logan Paul podcast.
Hey, you really don't want to go there, bro.
Here, I'm moving for you.
If you haven't seen it, the host just tried to give him advice and he literally just raged off. So yeah, so that is the Island Boys. Financially, I'm not too sure how they're doing. They're still living pretty nicely in this nice house and car, but is it going to last forever? I'm not too sure. That's been the video. What do you think of the Island Boys? Do you love them? Do you hate them? And yeah, that's been it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.